If you've ever struggled with making the most of your small, cozy home, you're in the right place, because today I am sharing my 10 most favorite small space decorating rules that absolutely changed my life as a home decorator. Rule number 1 is maximize any vertical space that you have in your small home. So I'm talking about in a practical way, such as wall-mounted storage from the floor to the ceiling, like shelves that go from the floor to the ceiling, or putting a lot of storage up on your walls, like closed cabinetry in the kitchen, in the laundry room, in the mudroom, etc. But I'm also talking about in a decorative way. So if you have a wall treatment, for example, a backsplash tile in your kitchen, rather than doing only a couple of feet of it from the countertop upward, consider going from the countertop all the way to the ceiling, like we did here in our tiny lake house. These ceilings in here are only 7'4", so when we took that tile all the way up to the ceiling, it made this small 467 square foot house feel a lot bigger than it actually is. You can also achieve the same effect by using tall furniture that goes from the floor to the ceiling, or my favorite, and I've talked about this multiple times, mounting your drapes as close to the ceiling as you can, creating that taller ceiling feel because your eye goes from the floor all the way up to that ceiling. You can also do things like open shelving in a kitchen that goes right from the countertop all the way up to the ceiling. Plus, you can also do this with crown molding at the tops of your cabinetry and all the way around your ceilings where the wall meets them to create that vertical feel. Rule number 2 is lighter colors will really open up your space. You probably know by now that I'm a huge fan of whites and shades of whites for paint colors, so certainly consider those colors for painting your walls if you have a nice small space. And don't forget about LRV, that's the light reflectance value, and that's that little number that you're gonna see on the paint chip or when you're looking for colors online. The higher the number, the more reflective that color is, which means more light is gonna bounce in your windows, onto the paint, and brighten up your space. Our first home was an 880 square foot garage, and as soon as we painted it from this dark taupe color to white, it made it feel so much bigger. And then we renovated our 1,000 square foot vacation rental and this little 467 square foot vacation rental, and you better believe I use a lot of light, bright colors in these spaces to make them feel bigger than they actually are. I will leave my favorite white paint colors down in that description box below. However, you do not have to use white paints. You can use pastel shades or lighter shades. On the flip side, I have been seeing a lot of small spaces painted a dark color, and I think this is an interesting twist. It's this warmer feeling, it's this kind of cocoon, safe haven feeling, but I think how to make this work in smaller spaces is to paint the walls, the ceiling, and the trim all the same color. This is gonna create that vast feeling in the space where you don't really know where the beginning or the end is. It gets rid of any lines in the space if you have trim painted a different color to make it feel bigger than it actually is. So making that ceiling, trim, and wall color all the same is also going to add to that feeling of space, and if making the space feel bigger than it is. The same thing, the same rule applies to flooring. If you have all similar flooring in your small space, that's gonna make your space feel bigger rather than having kind of patchy, different floors from room to room. Rule number 3 is using multifunctional furniture, and this has saved me so many times when decorating small spaces. So think about using sofa beds in a place where you can't fit a bed, but you still want seating. Think about Murphy beds, so maybe you want a room that can function both as an office and as a guest bedroom because your house is a little too small for both of those. I also love storage furniture, so I love this little ottoman that we have in here in our tiny lake house. Beautiful rattan piece that I found at IKEA, but you open it up and we can store extra linens in here. I also love storage furniture in the bedroom, so I really love a good nightstand that has storage inside. So a nightstand like this from IKEA that I painted, it has the drawers, it has the shelves, so lots of space for storing all of those bedtime essentials. Rule number 4 is mirrors, mirrors, mirrors. So anything reflective that you can put in your space is going to, again, just like light, bright pastel colors, bounce that natural light around and make your space feel brighter and larger than it is. So right here in our tiny lake house, we have this mirror that I put over our coffee station, and I positioned it right across from a window so that the natural light from the window will bounce off the mirror into the space. So if you're using mirrors on your wall, on your mantle, anywhere in your home, think before you mount them what they are going to reflect. Natural light is going to be the best, or any sort of beautiful scene in your home. I have a mirror in our kitchen that I regret putting there because it reflects our dirty the sink usually. So just think of that before you hang a mirror. Besides mirrors, you can think of other reflective surfaces like glass. So consider a glass top coffee table or a glass topped dining table. Gonna do the same thing, reflect into your space and just add some sparkliness and lightness to your room. Even something as simple as thrifted brass tabletop decor is going to add a little bit of metallic shine and reflection into your space. Rule 5, and I'm still working on this one, is embrace minimalism. If you have a small space, maybe not ultra minimalism, but try to be more minimalistic than you might want to be. And I'm continually working on this as a home stylist and a DIY decor blogger. I accumulate a lot of decor for my own projects and for my friends' projects and clients' projects. I myself am continually having to work on decluttering, minimizing things, and I always have to remember to continually be giving away some things, thrifting some things, recycling some things, so that I don't end up with so much clutter in my small studio space. I love the rule of one thing in, one thing out. That's a really easy one in theory to put to practice. So if you purchase something new for your home, is there something in your home already that you can now donate or give away or recycle that you don't use as much? That way you're not bringing more into your home than you are putting out. Rule number 6 for decorating small spaces is, this one might kind of be controversial, but I think it works. Go big on art. Oversized, large-scale art is going to make your space feel bigger. It fills up more of the wall. So I'm talking about framed artwork that you can put on your wall like we have here in our little lake house, or things like wall murals and really largely patterned wallpaper. This can visually expand your space because these patterns are so oversized. My favorite thing, and you probably know this already, is anything peel and stick because it's low commitment, it's easy to install, you can be a little bit bold with it, and if you get tired of it, you can change it up easily later on. Rule number 7 is small scale furniture. So we got big scale art, but small scale furniture. Smaller furniture is a lot harder to find lately. I feel like the big box stores have been getting bigger and bigger furniture to fill bigger and bigger houses. Don't forget that if you have a smaller space, you'll probably have to get apartment sized furniture for the space. I love IKEA for that reason because they usually have smaller furniture that fits better in spaces, lower backed couches and sofas, love seats, smaller scale chairs, those all work really well in a small space. On the flip side, and there's always exceptions to rules, right? If you want to do a larger piece of furniture in your space, as long as it fits, it might work if you can balance it out with smaller pieces in the rest of the space. Also, if you get a big sofa, for example, maybe you want a big, nice, comfy sectional in your small living room, look for a lower backed piece that's not going to be tall as well as big, right? Those lower pieces are gonna help make those ceilings feel taller and visually make your space feel more balanced. Rule number 8, try clear furniture because it is going to make your space feel larger. So lucite chairs, tables, glass topped coffee tables again are great in this space. The light's gonna shine right through these pieces. They don't take that visual weight up in a room. They're gonna create that open and airy feeling vibe that you want in your small space. In a similar manner, furniture that has exposed legs is also gonna add to that nice light airy feel in your small space. So look for chairs and sofas that have no skirts on them, just the legs exposed. Look for wooden leggy pieces like I have in our tiny lake house here. These rattan chairs they're just a nice, simple wood. They have the rattan seats and backs that help the light shine right through. Rule number 9 when decorating your small space is stick with a cohesive color palette. I'm a huge lover of color, but when decorating a small space like this one here, picking a color palette and sticking with it is just gonna really make the space feel more cohesive and larger. It's gonna bring harmony to your space and visually enlarge your space if you stick with this consistent color palette. So if, for example, for this place, I chose a color palette of white, black, mint green, and copper tones, and I just repeated those over and over again in each of the rooms in this tiny home. So you can repeat colors, but think about playing with different tones of that color. So think about a darker green and a lighter green, a black and a gray. You don't have to stick to that exact tone. Play with the tones, but try to keep the colors consistent. So for example, in this house, I have some darker greens and some lighter greens, but it's still all just green and copper accents. Rule number 10 when you're decorating your small space is don't forget about the pathways in the space. And this is a function thing that is often overlooked in small spaces because we're trying to cram as much furniture and decor as we can in these small spaces if you're like me and you love decor. But really you want to think about the use of the space and how it's actually going to function for you, your family, and your guests. Think about how you actually walk through your home and what pathways are going to make sense for your space. Make sure those are clear so you're not bumping into things or taking more time than you have to going from point A to point B in your own home. So think about those pathways and how moving your furniture around can make those pathways more clear. Usually a conversation sort of situation for furniture placement works. So that's when the furniture is away from the walls in the space, creating that cozy, that more intimate vibe. However, the exception to this rule is perhaps if you have a really small space like we do here in this cabin. The living room is very small, so I really only had the choice of putting the sofa up to the window wall. However, if you have to put a sofa up to a wall, you can offset that by moving the other furniture away from the walls and creating that conversation area around the sofa, and then maybe some pathways around the front and the side of your room. Usually about 3 feet width is a nice width for any pathways in your home, so really think about that when you're placing your furniture in your space. And there you have it, my favorite 10 rules for decorating small spaces. I hope you found these helpful. Let me know in the comments below which of these rules is your favorite. Do you have another one that you would add to this list? I would love to know. I have a whole playlist on how we took this tiny lake house from a wasp nest infested piece of junk to a cute little vacation rental. I'm gonna leave that playlist right up here for you to watch next.